we can wait a few minutes as people join us.
Okay.
For those just joining us, we're going to get started soon. We're expecting around 100 people, and so far I see 70, so we'll wait a few more minutes.
Oh, wow.
Inspector, it's good to see you.
Let's see everybody.
And seeing Marty in his office there is definitely very comforting. Like, that makes me feel like some things are still right in the world.
Oh, now
in that office.
We're trying.
Megan Flynn, the 100 people, are they going to all be on video, or are they just going to be able to watch us, or
just watch?
We'll just watch.
Okay.
We're the only ones on video.
Okay.
They can hear now.
I thought that, but I wanted to double check it.
But they can hear now, though, so they're in the room.
Okay.
And if you click the participants button down at the bottom,
Right.
you can see who they are.
Right. Yeah, that I know to do. I just didn't know if they were going to be at some point opened up for a video.
All right. So how many? Sorry, this is my first Zoom, so apologies for
Whoa!
any ignorance on my part. When do we want to get? I'm not sure if I can't see everybody.
Yeah, we have about 85 people here now, so that's a good attendance. So more people will join. But Naomi, you agree we can go ahead and get started?
I think we can get started. I think we're already recording, and Megan's going to broadcast us on.
Should I get going or?
Yes, take it away.
Sure. For those who don't know me, my name is Michael Restiobo. I'm the district manager of Brooklyn Community Board 6. Thanks everyone joining us here, and I think soon on YouTube, Facebook streaming. Looking forward to everyone on the panel. We have a really wide range and even growing list. I think we have the MTA, knock on wood, think is joining us. Oh, and
here, Mike.
Yeah.
What?
It's Andy Inglesby. I'm here.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks, Andy. I can't see the full list of everyone who's here. So on that, before I'm going to pass it off to our chair, Peter Fleming at CB6. But I just wanted to say just two updates that I've heard today to everyone. A lot of people have been reaching out to me about some overcrowding. Please, I just want to reiterate that, I know that's a less dense area of our district, but running and stuff like that, please be extra careful about the social distancing. And if you want to receive updates from CB6, simply text BKCB6 to 22828. And that sort of information is more localized. Obviously we have the governor and the mayor and others giving more mass scale updates. And, from there, I'll pass it off to Mr. Fleming.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. I don't have any, concrete information, to deliver in terms of, what's running and what's not. But I want to make sure that you understand that the community board is here and we're operating. And, Mike is in the office periodically. He only lives a few blocks away and he's the only one there. So we're answering phone calls, we're answering emails. While we can't help you get through to unemployment, if you have the typical kinds of problems you might call the community board about, the street lights not working or that kind of thing, we hope you'll contact us. You should know that although we're not having meetings, the city isn't referring issues to us either. So it's not like, there's a pile of things that we need to be acting on that are sitting there. So, once things get a little bit better, we anticipate that they'll start referring issues to us for us to provide an advisory opinion. And we'll decide at that time whether or not it's necessary for us to have a meeting, to consider a virtual meeting like this one of a committee, so that we can get back to business as quickly as possible. But we're not at that point yet. In the meantime, I urge you to, as everyone says, practice the appropriate, social distancing. I try and go for a walk every day or every day or every other day. I wear my mask. I I stand aside so that someone can pass by me, so that, we're not, passing, within too close a distance to each other. I went to Wegmans on Sunday, and they had people lined up outside, and they were only letting a certain number of people in the store at a time, again, in an effort to make sure that the store didn't get so crowded that you were forced to sort of violate those social distancing rules. So, know that we're here. Mike is putting out his daily newsletter, which he just told you about, has lots of great information in there about, new services that the city's offering, restaurants that are open that you can order takeout from. So, we need to try and support those businesses as best as we possibly can, so that they're still there when we come out of all of this. So, that's a really important thing for you to do. So we hope that you'll continue to do that. In the meantime, if there's anything that we can do for you, contact the community board directly, using the email address you have. You're welcome to contact me as well. I'm here. I'm not doing a whole lot except watching Netflix and reading books and doing some cooking. So, if there's anything that we can do for you, I hope you'll ask. Don't be surprised if we tell you that, or we refer you somewhere else, but we'll try and help as many people as we possibly can. And that's what I have. I think Brad was next, as I understand, Councilman Brad Lander.
Thank you so much, Peter and Mike. I really appreciate your both convening this meeting, and there's a lot of great people on it. So I'll be brief because I think we want to hear from some of them. I'll just say, as everybody knows, these are just impossible times in so many different ways. We have folks on this call like John Jarenko from New York Presbyterian, from Methodist and the whole NYP system, trying to manage an institution that is overwhelmed on the very front lines and marshaling the resources of our doctors and nurses and healthcare workers to save lives in conditions they have never been asked to do that in before, when it's, difficult to get the supplies they need, when they've had to massively expand their bed capacity, when people are risking their lives to save others. And obviously we're so grateful, just like beyond belief. And then there's all these other essential workers. We've got, Andy Inglesby from the MTA. We've got, the TWU workers, the transit workers, the subway workers, and folks that we haven't, we've got our Inspector Megan O'Malley on, folks who are out there continuing to ensure public safety. And we've got, a lot of our officers, a lot of our transit workers themselves. Andy might know the number, but there's already been a meaningful number of fatalities amongst our transit workers. We've got all these workers in jobs. I think we might have said before we knew that transit jobs and the NYPD and the FDNY and sanitation were essential. If you had said before, well, what about our bodega workers and our laundromat workers and the folks who do the food delivery? That's a set of workers we do not pay enough or give enough in benefits or treat with enough respect and dignity to ask them, and yet that's what we're asking them to do, and they're going out and doing it. We've got our teachers who are able to stay home, so they're not putting themselves in the same health risk, and yet they're being asked to become virtual teachers and totally reposition their lessons. And I could go on and on. It's extraordinary what people are doing right now to try to step up together. And then just all of the rest of us trying to find the ways to stay home. That's, so that we can bend this curve and save lives together when we're out, whether it's in our parks or on our streets, trying to figure out how we do that in ways that keep us sane, but also practice good practices. Thank you, Judy Willig and Meals on Wheels delivers. There's so many more people that are absolutely essential in this time. And then we're all trying to figure out where we fit in. Those of us who have the blessing, the luxury, the privilege to do our job by staying at home. How do we be good citizens in this time? And how do we contribute to the broader effort of building enough social solidarity? My office has been working really hard to try, and I feel so grateful. Naomi, Dan, and Julia Ehrman and Megan Flynn are all on this call, and we're happy to offer our Zoom account for this. We've been doing a lot to provide resources to people, and I'm going to put a few things in the chat. Resources working with our wonderful superintendent, Anita Scott, for parents, a resource page for freelancers and independent contractors trying to navigate this world of all their lost income. You're definitely invited to sign up for our lists as well. We're just trying to get information out there. get opportunities to help out there just as much as we possibly can. So I just want to say I really am grateful to be part of this community. It really is a community that I think cares about each other, sees the ways in which a lot of us are blessed to have a fair amount of privilege in a city where this crisis is hitting on all our pre-existing inequalities. I love all the pets, Felix. It's great to see your dog, and all the pets and the kids and the Zooms have been one lovely moment of this crisis. But you know, we see the ways that pre-existing inequalities of income and race and immigrant status and gender put people in harm's way right now. And we've got a responsibility to step up. And I'll just end here. It's like our first responsibility for those of us that aren't in one of those essential jobs is to stay home and practice social distancing so we can save lives. Our second responsibility is to think about the things that we can do, whether we're able to make contributions to our food banks or order from our local businesses or give to a domestic violence organization to try to help. And then our third, I think this will just pivot us as we go forward. How do we learn the lessons of this moment to build a society that could show up much better for everyone on both public health and economic and justice fronts than we have done in this time? So I'm honored to be in that work with you. I want to say thank you to CB6 for setting this up, and I look forward to hearing from the resource partners on this call.
I think Felix has to get somewhere pretty quickly if he wants to jump on. I don't know if people can hear that or not. Yeah. Felix, are you okay? Turn to I know he said he had to get off pretty.
Felix, can you unmute on your end? You're unmuted in the system, but we still can't hear you. No, we still can't hear you. Sorry.
Buttons in the bottom left corner. There's a microphone with a red slash through it.
I like Bruce McDonald's advice: when in doubt, call the kids for tech help. We'll go to the next speaker. Apparently they say it's the audio preferences in your computer that might need attention. So we'll try to come back.
I'm working on that.
Oh, we got it. All right, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
You can hear?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, take it away.
Yes? Masotov. It's beautiful. My dining car.
Here.
Okay, so you saw Stuart before me. So let me just really thank all of you and thank CB6, I'm sorry, for putting this together, and all the wonderful people that are on the line and on the front line. I also will echo everything that City Council members say. I don't want to repeat myself, but I think it's very important to recognize those folks. I would like to bring a couple of things that for us to think about it. We need to think probably about how can we help people who have lost their ones, that they don't have the funds or the money to pay for the funerals. We have a lot of my funerals at home. They are already overbooked. We have too many deaths happening in the area. And number two, I think it's very important to continue to re-emphasize the issue of social distancing. Distances. I think that the supermarkets and the pharmacies, where we see a lot of the people, and the 99-cent store, I think, I know the police department has been doing a wonderful job to do educational social distancing as well. It's too much burn on their shoulder, but I think we need to continue to reemphasize to people that the only way that we are going to survive is not just by staying home, but if we will go out to shopping, to be protected, to be safe, and to think about the safetyness of other people as well by keeping distance. So I think it's very important to continue to reemphasize that. From our perspective, we just finished the budget. We put money for coronavirus. I also put a bill regarding to allow folks who need some kind of help with their pharma costs, that they will be able not to only have 30 days, but to have 60 days plus in addition to that, just in case this continue to aggravate. And the rationale behind that is because you have some people who take psychotropic drugs that are only based on 30 days, that they will be able to have an extension, that they don't have to worry about their prescription to come home. Other than that, again, my office has been working behind the scene at home. We all been working behind the scene. We all been doing a lot of work on helping people with unemployment, with Section 8, as well as to continue to re-emphasize that it's very important for people to understand that we do have a 90 days eviction moratorium in place. And we're working on legislation to see how we come up with a conclusion to help after that, as well as to think how can we help people with rent, as well as the mortgage also has been extended. So I'm going to stop there. I will be listening to the conversation, and any question that get addressed that you need my answer, I will be here. And like always, we are here to work with you. Karen cannot say too much about Karen. She carry a lot of my load in the Red Hook area. We have managed to have a company to be hired by HUD to clean Red Hook and to get on the job. And also we're working to continue to supply masks to the workers in Red Hook. And to all the folks online and those who are not here online, please, may God bless you, keep the faith, and we will prevail.
Do we want to toss it to Marty? I know Marty's been at Litchfieldville, I think, since like 5 a.m. today. So if you ready to go, Marty?
Yeah,
right.
That's me. Hi, I'm Martin Marr. I'm the Brooklyn Parks Commissioner. First of all, you're lucky to have elected officials like Felix Ortiz and Joanne Simon, Bobby Carroll, and Brad Lander. They've been in constant communication with the Parks Department for all the things we have had to do. Let me start off with, we are not burying people in local parks and playgrounds. I can promise you that. That whole conversation came in because Hart Island, which is in the Long Island Sound, which has been a burial ground for centuries, it has become part of the Parks Department. If, God forbid, if we have to in the future, that's a place that we can reopen to do burials, but there won't be any in your local parks and playgrounds. None of the decisions that were made are made solely by parks. We're working with our partners in state and local government, with the Department of Health, of course, with our great friends at the police department, elected officials. And let me also shout out to Committee Board 6, Mike and Peter. Again, we're in constant communication. The closings we've had to do, again, everybody's promoting social distancing. It's so, so important. And sort of in sequence, we've had to close more and more things. So right now, recreation centers and historic houses are closed. We tried to leave playgrounds open. It became just too crowded to promote social spacing. So playgrounds are now closed. Courts are closed. We're in the process of removing some 600 basketball hoops in the borough because we close them with signs. People don't always abide by the signs. Handball courts, tennis courts, bocce courts, soccer fields where we've had problems. Effective yesterday, dog runs had to be closed, and effective today, skate parks had to be closed. So again, this is the gist of this is you want to stay home, but there are opportunities. There are parks, larger parks that are open. Prospect Park, please go take a walk, visit a waterfall, walk on the drive. Again, keep your social distancing, wash your hands, keep your hands away from your face. Coffee Park is open. Some of the other larger parks are open. We get it. People need to get outside. It really gives people an opportunity to appreciate how important parks are to us. And by going out and getting that hour or two of fresh air, getting the kids out of the house, go for a walk in the neighborhood, come to a park. Greenwood Cemetery has been very gracious of opening their gates as well to get that outdoor experience. So please take advantage of that. There are also some great things you can do online. We have Parks at Home, which is a program that you can get on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Basically, it's go to the parks website, wnycgovparks.org/highlights/parks at home. A lot of good programs for kids and adults to get fit at home and so on. But we're New Yorkers. We're very strong. We're going to make it through this together. Please be considerate of other people. Please wash your hands. Keep your hands away from your face. Please keep social distancing. That's 6 or more feet apart. We're starting to introduce signs in Prospect Park of that. If you want some general information, the New York City website, nyc.gov/coronavirus, has some good background. And back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. I guess, Joanne, if you want to jump in, do you want to?
Sure. Well, thank you. I'm so glad to see so many people on this call, and I want to thank all of my colleagues in government, the elected officials, as well as everybody who's here from the agencies, because obviously this is a time where we're all going to need to work together. And I feel very fortunate, number one, to be representing the 52nd Assembly District and to be able to work with the colleagues that I have to work with, who are all really caring and are involved and are really out there to serve the community. So I want to thank you all. Wish everybody a happy Passover in advance. I know that that's the next holiday that's up. It's going to be a different kind of holiday for everybody. Easter will be very different because we're in these incredibly trying times and nobody really knows exactly what to do. I do want to make sure everybody knows that my office is working. You know, we're all telecommuting, and my office has been telecommuting now for a little over 2 weeks. And but we're getting all your emails and we're responding to them, and we're taking phone calls as well, trying to provide answers. A couple of things that have been really big issues are obviously unemployment and the inability for people to get through either online or by phone. And one of the things that the state has been doing is working to beef that up. They have now gone to a program with Google where they're really enhancing their website so that will not be a problem anymore. So many people were getting through two-thirds or three-quarters of the process and getting dropped off their applications. That should not be happening by at least by the end of the week. And they've also were losing about 80% of the calls that were coming in because they had this old Verizon system. That has now gone to a call center system. It's in the cloud, and so that's not going to be a problem going forward. So if there's a number one problem, it's the application for unemployment, which includes the availability of unemployment for people who previously were freelancers and not able to claim unemployment. So it's even more people calling, and it's just an astronomical number of people who are needing to access that system. So they're working very hard on that. The other issue, of course, is this need for a phone call, which we have tried to find out. We believe it probably is regulatory at the federal level, but we're double checking that because that seems to be a real problem people have, is needing to get that call back. But they can get that call back at any time. That is not necessarily connected with the days of the week that they should call based on their alphabetical last name. They're dividing up the days. If you have a certain last name, you call certain days. I want to also obviously thank everybody and all the essential workers. People in our communities have really risen up to help feed people in the hospitals, to be there for our local small businesses, our restaurants, the people who are doing takeout, and really looking to work with our small businesses and our restaurants and bodegas, and make sure that we support those small businesses. It's very important. I know that there are some big issues, obviously, which we were not able to address in the budget, in part because we don't have money and we don't necessarily have all of the tools yet. But that's rent, obviously, but that rent is also for small businesses. They have commercial leases, and they have penalties and for late fees and other penalties if they're not paying their rent on time. So even though they may have a moratorium, for example, doesn't matter because they can get socked with these fees at the end. So what we really need is subsidy. We need to find a way of funding rent for people, mortgage payments, for example, and those who are co-ops who have proprietary loans. So they're neither fish nor fowl in terms of the law. But we are working hard on that. The Assembly, I want to say that the Assembly is still in business. We are right now on a 2-week break that we were supposed to have, being in the district and not being in Albany. But we are not closing out session. And so that's something that the speaker has made clear, that the session is not over, the budget may be over, but session is not over. And we're going to continue to work on a variety of these issues, including all of the issues I mentioned before. I'm certainly happy to go over specifics on the budget if people have questions about that. I don't think you need me to do that at this moment. And I just want to encourage everybody in the public to physically distance themselves, make sure you wear a mask. There are lots of people now that are sewing masks. Find a way to contribute to that effort or any other effort, whether it's helping to feed our healthcare workers or anything else that you can do. One of the things I remember Doris Kearns Goodwin talking about after she had written her book about Roosevelt, and that is that Roosevelt had all these things, like you would collect the tin cans and you would do it would take the aluminum off the gum wrappers, and that would all be melted down and used to the war effort. And half of that was wrong, okay? And half of that was he just made it up. The reality was he got everybody involved. We're really lucky here in that, it's not really luck, but it's kind of a perverse way, in that, we know our neighbors, the small businesses. They're our neighbors, they're our friends, they're the backbone of our economy. Our healthcare workers are our neighbors, are our friends. We can really make a difference in their lives to all those people who are essential workers in a real way. So it's not like collecting cans that are not going to end up going to the war effort. It's a very real, direct connection that we can have with our neighbors to help everybody to get through this particular war. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to taking people's questions later on.
All right, thank you, Joanne.
We're probably hearing, Mike, the 7 p.m. clap, thanking the essential workers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, we could take like a minute here to honor them. All right, well done.
Okay.
You want to throw it to Bobby? I think he's on.
I'm on. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone's family is doing well during this very difficult time. I'll just echo very quickly a couple of things Joanne said that my office is doing as well. Obviously, I think the number one call lots of us are getting are about unemployment insurance and, kind of the absolute havoc that is going on right now with that system. I talked to the commissioner of the Department of Labor yesterday. One of the things, if you yourself or someone is looking to apply for unemployment, it's so important that when they go online, they have their employer's EIN number, they have their employer's address, they have their social security number, they have, if they do have last year's W-2 or 1099, they have all the pertinent documents because the website is clunky. And, I'm told it's better to use a desktop or a laptop than your phone because there are a bunch of people who won't need phone calls if they can verify all their information. But Joanne and I have been on a daily phone call with other assembly members, and this is an issue that's coming up around the state. And I think we're all trying to figure out a way to make it easier when, of course, we have record amounts of people applying for unemployment. And I think we'll all keep working to try to clear that system up as best as possible. And in that same vein, another thing that I'm working on, and I have a bill for, and I want to echo again what Joanne said, I really do hope that we are able to have the rest of session, be it virtual or be it when it is safer to all convene again, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later, that we're able to get the state's work done and not just punt everything to next year. I have a business interruption bill. Many small business owners purchase business interruption, bars, restaurants, small firms. Right now, the insurance companies are rejecting all claims for business interruption, which is very disconcerting. And there's an effort among a number of states, including New York, to try to require them to cover COVID-19 or other pandemics. Some business interruption contracts are silent. Some specifically excluded pandemics after the SARS pandemic, or SARS came about in 2003. So we're working on that, and we're getting some information out there. I was on CNBC over the weekend talking about that. Our office also is virtual. It's been virtual for the last 2 weeks, but if you do leave a message at 718-788-7221, you will get a call back or an email back within 24 hours. You can always email me at carolr@nyassembly.gov. We are trying our best to make sure that folks are getting the constituent services that they need. And in that vein, we've been doing a lot of work in Kensington. That isn't CB6, but there have been some incidents of large gatherings that we have been trying to work with community residents, the 6-6 precinct, to make sure that those stop. And the same kind of thing, if something's going on, be it in Prospect Park, be it on 7th Avenue, please feel free to reach out to my office. And finally, I just want to thank all those people who have been the real heroes out there, the first responders, the folks at Methodist, the folks who are manning our supermarkets and drugstores and hardware stores, and the FDNY, NYPD, EMS, who are doing an absolutely amazing job in putting themselves at risk. And so thank you. And I'm glad to see all of you. I hope to see all of you in the flesh sooner rather than later. And thank you all for all of your hard work and dedication to our neighborhoods.
Thanks, Bobby. I was going to toss it, since it's so much, there's so much focus on the unemployment issue. I was going to toss it to Rafael Espinal, the executive director of the Freelancers Union, since I know that a lot of his members and things like that are having a lot of issues. Ralph, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. But
yeah, well, great. Good evening, everyone. Good to see so many of you, so many of my friends on this call. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Community Board 6, for having me on and for inviting me to speak on the issues that are affecting freelancers. For those of you who are not aware, the Freelancers Union was started in Brooklyn over 20 years ago with the main mission of providing freelancers health insurance and also a form of advocacy, especially when we have issues like this come up. The union also worked with Brad Lander and myself very closely when I was in the council to pass the nation's first Freelancers in Free Act, which ensures that the city will get involved in mediating any contract disputes or issues between freelancers and their clients. Historically, freelancers have had issues collecting payments from those they contracted with, and this law provides them with the extra protection to get paid on time. And in that vein, when the COVID pandemic hit New York and across the country, freelancers were left out in the cold because they traditionally do not qualify for unemployment insurance and other safety net programs that exist for traditional workers. So as soon as I started my job, I've only been here for a month. I was out advocating our members in Congress to to make sure that the pandemic unemployment assistance that was passed through the stimulus includes freelance workers. So for the first time in history, the states across the country, including New York, are providing unemployment insurance for independent contract workers, for freelancers. And they have been applying since last week, but as was mentioned on this call, they're facing a lot of issues accessing those benefits. I don't think that there is one freelancer that I can point to that can tell us that they are ready in the system to receive payment. So, as I mentioned in other calls that Brad has been part of, it's important that our elected officials and all of us continue pushing the state, Department of Labor to do everything they can to free up those lines and get those dollars to those workers. These are workers that have been, a lot of them been living paycheck to paycheck. They're depending on this unemployment insurance in order for them to pay their bills. I know there's a big conversation around suspending, canceling rent. It's a position that I'm supportive of, and I hope that there's further conversations around that. But aside from unemployment insurance, if there are any freelancers that you're in conversation with, there's also the payroll protection program that has been released for small businesses this past Friday. But this Friday, it will finally open up to freelance workers. And if freelance workers apply for that program, they'll get up to 8 weeks of a forgivable loan towards paying their own payroll, but also rent and other costs that they have to run their self-employed business. So that's a program that we're looking to on Friday, but we also expect to have issues with that program as well, only because of how we're seeing how unemployment insurance is not working to date. So we'll continue advocating on behalf of freelancers, and I hope we can count on all of you to speak on behalf of these workers. There are 1.3 million here in New York City. Brad, correct me if that number is wrong. It's over 30% of the city's workforce that have reported to have freelance. Our union has close to 200,000 members here in New York. So it's a lot of people that we're speaking of that are severely affected by the loss of work and the loss of benefits. So I'm here advocating. If I can be of any resource on information or voice on any issues you're working on as a community board or as my former colleagues in office, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, Ralph. It's gonna, keeping with the small business theme, it's gonna toss it over to Dan Wiley, who I think is now on the call on behalf of Congresswoman Velasquez.
Okay, just unmuted. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you, Dan.
All right, great. So Congresswoman Velasquez just wants everyone to know, first off, that she's feeling better. Many of you probably know that she's presumed to have coronavirus by the Capitol Office of the Attending Physician on Sunday, the 29th. Her symptoms are relatively mild. And she's even talking about wanting to donate plasma at this point to try to help others. And we have all been working from home, telecommuting on our laptops, and collaborating on a number of different things. Of course, the Congress passed the CARES Act. The Congresswoman is the chair of the Small Business Committee. She's tried for years to actually have a grant, an out-and-out grant. Unfortunately, it was unfortunate that it took a pandemic to actually get to the point where we could have an SBA grant that could be gotten by small businesses as well as nonprofits. There's also the, what Espinal mentioned, the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, which you apply through your bank. Nonprofits as well as small businesses can apply, and also the gig economy, those freelancers can also apply. We have some issues. The Congresswoman has been, and her Small Business Committee staff has been working on some issues in terms of implementation, where there's rulemaking and interpretation, wanting to make sure that we have it as generous as possible. There have been some issues with certain banks and how they define certain things. And the Congresswoman has been reaching out, and her staff has been reaching out and trying to make sure that there's clear enough guidance for the banks to be able to make these very important forgivable loans. And, you know, there's a whole slew of things in that act. If folks want more, they can certainly go to the Congresswoman's website, nydiavelasquez.house.gov. And we've also sent out fairly recently a mailer with a lot of good links and explanations of things. And I've sent out to my list. So if people aren't on that, you can go to the Congresswoman's website and sign up to get it, or certainly share your email, and we're able to send it out to you.
Thank you, Dan. Sorry, I apologize again. This is my first Zoom, so I was going to toss it over to coming back to another big issue that was hit on earlier, was the schools. We have the District 15 Superintendent Anita Scott with us tonight, and if she could jump in, that would be great.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for the work that you're all doing. I want to reiterate what everybody else has said very quickly. First of all, we honor our first responders who are doing incredible work, but also the people who are the unsung heroes. And as Brad said, and as many people on this call have said, the people who are working in our laundromats, the people who are working in our grocery stores and bodegas, the people who are delivery people who are still doing deliveries for people who cannot get out themselves, the parks people who are keeping the parks clean and making sure that they are safe for children and families to use in this special time. I want to also give a shout out to people that you may not know about. Across New York City, there are what are called rec centers, and these are unique in that they are providing childcare, actual childcare and learning to the children of first responders. And the people manning the rec centers are all volunteers. They are people who willingly are going to work when they don't have to. They are not getting extra money. They are not getting anything. They have volunteered to do this, and they are doing an amazing job supporting our children in school. The other thing that I think is super important to say in this time of such financial need is that anybody, an adult or a child, can go to one of the schools that are feeding sites. And we have a significant number in District 15. The feeding sites are on the District 15 website. They are on the CEC website. Anybody can go and get 3 meals a day. You get a breakfast and 2 lunches, so that one serves as a lunch and one serves as a dinner. But it is adults and children. And I also want to reiterate that it is children of any age, so that it doesn't have to be a school-age child. Any child, any adult is welcome to come and get food. And again, these are being staffed by our kitchen people, by school security, people who are not even people are thinking about, but they deserve recognition too. So I want to thank them. Most importantly, I have to thank our teachers, our parents, our principals, our paras, everybody connected with the school system who is working from home. We have teachers. Every day I am dazzled by the fact that they are putting out enormous, enormous numbers of videos, of online lessons, of working that are just brilliant. We have teachers who have turned their living rooms into Sesame Street. It's the only way I can describe it. We have teachers who are music teachers, art teachers who are doing lessons with young children and with older children. We have artwork that is being produced that is phenomenal. We have songs that are being produced that is phenomenal, but we also have academics that are being produced that is phenomenal. And that is a tribute to the teachers who are working so hard, who are sometimes teaching with their dog in the room or their baby on their lap. but they are doing it, and they are doing amazing work while at the same time helping their own children to learn. So we have to give them a lot of credit too. I cannot begin to thank the principals in District 15 for the astonishing support that they give teachers and for the way that they care so passionately about their students and about their teachers and about everybody in their community, in this community. You know that in District 15, we are not only dealing with CB6, but we are also dealing with the children in Sunset Park in CB7. And we have had a real food crisis. And I want to give a shout out to Brad and to Felix, because when this first came to light, I reached out to both of them and the response was instantaneous. And as I said on a previous webinar, because of their work, we were able to expand the hours of the Center for Family Life's food pantry, which went from having 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, now to being 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, so that there are more opportunities for people to go and get food. This is such a difficult time for people, but we are all in this together, and I know that there's a lot that we have no control over and that people are confused about and concerned about. Just today, it was officially announced that the regents will no longer be given this year, and that students do not require the regent to graduate. They will graduate if they pass their courses. So I want to reassure parents who are worried about this, about what was going to happen with the regents. What if my child is not prepared? This is going to be based on coursework as per New York State's requirements. Please know that we will be getting more information for the chancellor, which will talk about grading policies, promotion, and all of these other issues that we're waiting to hear for the lower grades. I do want to reassure parents, your children are learning. I want to reassure parents that this is not something we are going to penalize children for or penalize teachers for. We are pulling together as a community, as a district, as a country, and we will keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Scott. I'm just going to shift it over to our the commanding officer over at the 76th Precinct, Megan O'Malley, who has taken time out of her busy schedule to join us. And thank you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Also for Zoom. I just want to say thank you to Mike and Peter and all the elected officials. We have a great network in this community in terms of communication on every day. And it's like one of those things, you take care of the small things, it certainly helps to take care of the bigger things. Just an amazing community. Like I said, the way that everyone has responded to take care of each other and also to remember some of our less secure in the community. As Anita was just saying, please don't forget that we have the rec centers for food. There is 4 of them in, 3 of them in Red Hook and 2 over near Gowanus. So please, if you have an organization and you can get that out, they're open early morning to midday, and anyone can walk in and grab food for later. So that's something that we're certainly happy to circulate. I just want to thank all of the small businesses and the big businesses in the area. The cooperation in terms of the shuttering has been excellent since day one. Every day we sort of have an issue somewhere, but for the amount of business that we have in this community, it certainly helps when we are understaffed. You know, we have diminished resources. We also have officers, you know, that have illness. Fortunately, everybody here is doing well so far. But, you know, they have needs to take care of. That when we're understaffed, we can count on the community to sort of support us. We're not chasing people around and begging them to close their businesses. That being said, we have had a few. So if you know them, please, it's for everyone's safety. I understand that it's their livelihood, but it's also everyone's physical livelihood in the area. Our primary concerns right now is the public safety, which is always our primary concern. And we're trying to do that and reassure everybody in a time of crippling anxiety that we're here for you. So high visibility, you know, where we're trying to we want you, when you come outside, to take your walks, to see us. We want you to feel secure. If there's something that you're concerned about, please reach out to us. We've got more social media interaction since this started than ever, which I consider like super positive. You know, I'm glad that people feel like they can reach out and receive a good response. If anyone doesn't have the precinct's phone number, it's 718-834-3211. Now is not the time to come in and get that accident report or complaint report that you've been like putting off for a while. You can call and we can sort of walk you through how to do it on the internet. Or if there's an issue that you need to talk about, we can probably talk it through on the phone. So we are also sort of working in unorthodox methods. You know, usually we like to interact with people directly and make sure that we have the entire story. And here we're saying, please, you know, we'll try to do it from a safe distance. We don't want anyone to leave their home unnecessarily in order to get to us. So we are still, nothing has changed, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The one thing I can ask is please check on your neighbors. I know it's hard, especially when we're saying stay in, but if there's somebody that you used to see outside, maybe you can knock on the door or knock through the window and just see how they're doing. There's certainly a lot of elderly in this community. There's sort of a lot of single residents. So this would be super helpful in terms of wellness checks and things like that for us. We've had a few incidents already, so please continue, include us if you need to. Coming up, we'd just like to wish everybody a happy Easter and a happy Passover. I know that it'll be a little sad not doing it with the processions, and obviously everything has changed. So we thank the houses of worship for their cooperation in that. I know it's just different for everybody, quite frankly. And I just, on a personal note and a professional note, I'll never be able to thank the medical staff in the local hospitals and EMS for everything you're doing. I mean, we're out here too, but the things that you're doing are just incredible. And I am completely stunned and awed. So thank you for that. That's all I have.
Inspector, thank you, and thanks for that part at the end. I know we're going to hear from John from NYP shortly, but there is one question for you in the Q&A,
Sure.
which is just, and I know we've gotten this from our office as well, that when people see, some group congregating in a park or, in some way not engaging in the physical distancing, is that a time that it's appropriate to reach out to you? I guess that's the core question.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, there's never an inappropriate time to reach out to us. That's something that we try to say, more often or most often. In terms of, I know especially now is a good 901 versus 301 time. Everyone's getting the alert on their phones, like don't call 901 unnecessarily. 301 has actually, the city added an option to sort social distancing assignments, and some of them are being routed to us. But yeah, absolutely can. Like I said, we've had incidents. We did have an impromptu wedding last week. We had a bar today that was serving people. So there's certainly things to report, and we appreciate that.
And can you just maybe say one word about what you're doing? Because I think people feel kind of both ways about this. Like on the one hand, it's like, it's not like we want you to go out there and arrest people and then they'd be like being unsocially distanced, but how are you, what are you doing to try to get people to obey these rules to keep us safe in this just impossible time?
Like most things, we begin with education information. In this instance, let's say you call and someone's playing basketball in the basketball court. We're going to come and ask you to please stop playing basketball. I haven't had anybody look me in the face and say, we are absolutely going to disobey social distance in front of you. So usually a conversation is enough to quell it here. Like I said, in the recent bar thing, in the bar this afternoon, we did just issue summonses, but this is a business that has been warned once before. And it's just, we're 2 weeks into this, 3 weeks into this. I think the warnings were enough here. But those are the first summonses we've actually issued anywhere in regards to this. Everything else has been just verbally sort of resolved.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Captain Inspector O'Malley. Keeping with the public safety theme, I want to throw it over to FDNY and my good friend and colleague in government, Mr. Jason Shelley.
Hey, am I good now? Thanks very much to Mike and to Peter for arranging this. And I wanted to say thank you to Superintendent Scott. You mentioned the rec programs. That's something I helped work on at the FDNY. We've had quite a few of our members get enrolled, and their kids are taking part. So that's been a really great thing during this time. So at FDNY, things are extraordinarily busy. Our EMS runs in particular are as high as they've ever been. This is the busiest time for our EMS that they've ever been, especially over a sustained period of time like this. Thankfully, we've been able to work with partners, private hospitals that already participate in the program. We've asked them to surge and help take more tours in the 911 system. We've also been very fortunate. We've called in the help from friends from around the country. You may have seen unusual looking ambulances on the street. We've got about 130 different ambulances taking part in the 911 system right now from places like Georgia, places like the Carolinas. They've come in at our time of need. A lot of these are places that the fire department has sent units to in the past, whether it's for a hurricane or a flood or a tornado. We often send help around the country, and it's been really great that they've been returning the favor and helping us out at this time. I would just touch on that, this very high volume of calls of people calling 911. We're running it almost twice what we usually get, and it becomes very difficult to keep up with. So one of the things we've been really impressing upon people is to only call 911 if you have an emergency and you need to get to the hospital. We have had some people calling with questions about COVID, with perhaps help to find a physician or some other kind of healthcare provider. 311 has resources available for those sorts of calls. We're trying to make sure that the people who call and use the 911 system are experiencing an emergency and are actually needing to get to the hospital, just so that we can get the people that need the help the most and keep the system functioning as best we can. The other thing I wanted to touch on, we also have been sending out a good number of teams to inspect areas for physical distancing and social distancing. We get those lists and requests from the mayor's office. We go to particular neighborhoods, but we also respond to things that people have let City Hall know about. So 311 is a good place to do that. If you're seeing sometimes in the stores, even if they're abiding by the policy, people outside will be gathered too closely, or just anywhere that you're seeing problems. If you let 311 know, you let the City Hall know. There's teams from the fire department, teams from DOB, NYPD, of course. The sheriff's department's been involved. It's been a very big effort. And I would just echo what Inspector O'Malley said. We're doing probably 650 to 700 inspections a night, and the vast majority of people are complying. When we do run into issues where people are maybe packed up or bunched up a little bit too much, it usually just takes a quick explanation, quick intervention, and the overwhelming majority of people are being very good about it. But so just keep that in mind. Please only call 911 if you need to. And you know, I would say we feel very supported. I know our members feel very supported at this time by members of the community. That's been really wonderful. And we're all just pulling in the same direction, and we're all going to get through this. So thanks to everybody here for taking part, and we appreciate the support.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to stick with the theme of Jason and switch it up to Jason Reichel over for the census update. I think he's still here. Yes. Hi, Jason.
I'm still here. Hi, Mike. How you doing? Thanks for pulling this together. It's been very entertaining and informational. So the census is going on. We are about 2 weeks in. Right now, I'll just go over some numbers of how the country, the state, and the city are doing. The country is not doing very well on the census in comparison to 2010. Right now, there's a 45.7 response rate. New York State is at 40%, New York City is at 35%, and Brooklyn, which is one of the worst counties in the entire country in 2010, is at 33%. The good news is that the area of CB6 is performing better than both Brooklyn and New York City. Councilman Lander's district, the 39th is at 39%. The 39th is at 39. Assemblymember Joanne Simons, the 52nd is at 42%. Assemblyman Carroll, the 44th is at 38%. And Assemblyman Ortiz, 51st is at 31%. There's still a lot of work to do. They have extended door knocking. It was supposed to end by July 31st this year. The Census Bureau has extended that to August 14th. There is a really good chance that they'll probably extend it beyond that. That being said, I don't think, and of course things can change, I don't see them extending the census beyond September, because by law they have to deliver the numbers to the President of the United States by December 31st, and that can only be changed by an act of Congress. They do have algorithms where they can predict. They know through administrative records 95% of the country as it is, so I don't see them extending the census into 2021, but there is a chance that that could happen. With coronavirus, we have had to change a lot of our outreach strategies. Just like everybody else, we're pretty much virtual now, so we're going to be doing a lot of teletown halls, phone banking and text banking. We're already reaching out to the council. Councilman Lander's office has already spoken to us about hosting a text out the count on April 20th. So there will be opportunities for people that want to be engaged and reach out to their neighbors through traditional phone banks and through text out the counts. There is a very good map that I'll say the address right now. It's by Hester Street, which is an urban planning, design, and community development nonprofit that we partnered with. And if you are interested in just taking a look at the city, taking a look at the neighborhoods, even down to the census tract level, the address is NYC 2020 census map.hesterstreet.org. And I'll send it to Mike, so Mike, you can include it in your daily newsletter. I guess this is a good time to pitch your newsletter. So that's basically what's going on with the census right now.
Great, thanks, Jason. Keeping with the theme of names with J, I guess at this point, we're going to go to John Duranko at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist. Thank you, John.
John, we can't hear you. No, still not. You're unmuted on the system, but I think it's on your end. There. No, still. You show up as unmuted here on the host screen, so I don't know whether there's a volume issue on your end or if you can play with the settings and the little mic down in the left corner. I'm sorry. Let's go to the next speaker, and maybe Naomi, if you can chat John some suggestions for how we might be able to hear him.
I was gonna switch it up to transportation. Keith Bray, I think, is on, and then go to Andy Inglesby from the MTA next. I think Keith is here.
I see Andy, but I don't see.
Okay, well, let's go to Andy then, I guess.
Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yep. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, yeah, I think I just saw a message that Keith left the meeting. So, first of all, thanks to CB6 and the elected officials for having this. I really, really appreciate it. And you know, transit is getting hit hard, but we're here. So we want to tell you that you know, since the COVID-19 pandemic, the MTA has designed the Essential Service Plan to transport essential workers to their vital jobs. However, we are constrained by the number of train crews available on a daily basis as our employees take precautions against the spread of COVID-19. But we are monitoring service on a day-to-day basis in real time to make adjustments where possible to maintain social distance. And the MTA is doing everything possible to ensure the health and safety of our customers and employees. That being said, we really are recommending and reminding everyone that if you are not an essential worker, please do everything you can to not travel on the subways or buses. This is really going to help us in our fight to keep social distancing on the subways and buses. And we are working very closely with the NYPD and the MTA PD to enforce proper social distancing. Officers are on the platforms and on board trains encouraging riders to move to another car or train if there is visible crowding And we want to thank our partners at the NYPD for really coming to the forefront for that. We continue to disinfect stations twice a day and the subway and bus fleet every 72 hours. If I would say that if a customer observes an unsanitary condition, they should report it to the train crew or the bus operator if they can do so within a safe distance, or report it to our website at mta.info or call 511. I can tell you that the back of the bus boarding is still being implemented. We implemented back of the bus boarding in order to try to keep social distancing from our bus operators. So basically, every local bus, we are still asking our customers to board at the rear of the bus. The select bus service and the express buses are still either boarding at the front, or for select buses, we're still asking our customers to get their tickets at the sidewalk kiosks as they usually have done. And as far as personal protective equipment is concerned, I can tell you that since March 1st, transit employees, or MTA employees, have been distributed 300,000 N95 masks, 160,000 surgical masks, 2,500,000 pairs of gloves, and we've also used 12,500 gallons of hand sanitizer and 53,000 gallons of cleaning solution. So, and Brad, I know you mentioned before that as far as fatalities, unfortunately, transit has lost 33 employees since due to COVID. So as I said, we are getting hit hard, but we're here, and thanks to all of our partners, and we really are looking to get all the essential workers to where they need to go on a regular basis. So thanks very much for having us.
All right. Thank you, Andy. So I think we're going to try to go back to John Duranko from New York Presbyterian, Brooklyn Presbyterian. John, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you.
You got me? Okay. Hi, I'm
Yep.
John Duranko. I'm the Director of Government Affairs and Grants for New York Presbyterian, which includes New York Presbyterian, Brooklyn Methodist. Thank you to the community board, to Peter and Mike for having me, and to our elected officials for putting this on. I just want to spend a minute going over some of the resources that we have available to the public right now. As you can imagine, New York Presbyterian is very busy at all of our sites. Elective procedures have been canceled, but we're still doing urgent and emergency procedures. Those are ongoing. We're doing a lot of work on remote patient monitoring. Two things that we are offering right now to the public. One is that we have a COVID-19 hotline. And Mike, I'll send you all this information as well. But that number is 646-697-4000. 646-697-4000. And this is staffed by clinical staff that can, you can describe what if you have any questions, they can walk you through things. We also have telehealth or virtual urgent care services that we're promoting right now. And again, Mike, I'll send you information on this that you can share with folks. But you can, to get the app for this, you can text NYP, as in New York Presbyterian, NYP, to 69697. And you can download the app for our virtual urgent care services, and you can communicate with a board-certified emergency physician within a couple minutes on that. Also on our website, nyp.org, we have information for folks on coronavirus. We also have an FAQ in multiple languages that has the hotline number. And we have something called Health Matters, which has information on coronavirus, but also how to cope with this. There's some information on if you're pregnant, for behavioral health services, things like that. So I'm here to take questions. I can send folks out my email address. I'm happy to help and happy to live in this district and have such great elected officials in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I think I have that that line, the hotline you referred to, but any of that information I'll share and going forward that I may not have. But I think Lauren's been really on top of it with you guys. I'm going to toss it over to the Department of Health. I think we have on the line.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. This is Tejumade Ajayaba from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm going to just offer a quick situational update, giving some numbers as to where we are currently with our counts. These numbers for New York State were updated as of yesterday. Their website hasn't been updated since I've been on there. But as of yesterday, New York State had 138,000 cases with 5,489 deaths. And within New York City, these numbers were updated as of 5 p.m. this evening. There were 74,601 cases and 3,544 deaths. And within Brooklyn, 19,499 cases, and as of yesterday, 669 deaths. These numbers are continuing to rise, which is why we've been repeating our messaging, urging people to please stay home. If you have symptoms, we ask that you monitor yourself for 3 to 4 days. And if the symptoms do not go away within 3 to 4 days, contact your healthcare provider, and you would make a decision with your healthcare provider as to whether or not you need to get tested. Right now, testing is being reserved, or we're urging people to reserve testing for those who are already in the hospital or those who are severely ill. And this is because, as we know, there's been a huge shortage of the personal protective equipment. And also there's a concern that the more that you leave your home, there's a possibility of you not only getting infected, but possibly infecting others. And if you do happen to test positive for COVID-19, you will be sent home. So that's why we're just saying, unless you're severely ill, that's why we're saying that as much as possible, if you can, stay home. And recently, we've been told that there's a worldwide shortage of the nasal swabs that are used for testing, which is more reason to please stay home unless you are severely ill and you feel you're not feeling well. Once again, always contact your healthcare provider and make that decision with your healthcare provider. As for our part within the Department of Health, we are continuing to work with our sister agencies to provide the most updated guidance and resources. Our website is updated on a regular basis with our updates and our resources, and it's updated on a daily basis with the counts. We try to update it twice a day, so usually in the morning around 9 o'clock and in the evening around 5. We also have the demographic breakdown, age, sex, borough, and zip code, and we're working on being able to get the race and ethnic breakdown sometime in the near future. Please, we ask that you visit our website for information. We have some FAQs and a lot of guidance documents that are very helpful. Our website is nyc.gov/coronavirus, nyc.gov/coronavirus. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We're going to try to go back to Brooklyn Borough Commissioner for DOT, Keith Bray, who I think is now on the line. Keith? Okay. Is he not on, like I said, first Zoom still?
See, he's there, and I've unmuted him on our end, but I don't know. He doesn't have his video on, so we can't see him. Keith, can you hear us? All right.
Okay. Who else do we? Is that indicative of something?
Oh, no. That's not
Oh, okay.
too many things popping in my screen here.
Oh, okay.
We have actually, you know, there was one question for the Department of Health. So there's a few questions in the chat, but since there's one that I think is specifically for the health department, an attendee in the Q&A box asks about case numbers. You know, we're reading, aren't there a lot more unreported cases, people who are dying in their homes and then aren't getting counted? What can you tell us about how cases are being reported and logged so we could, you know, be confident that we really have as much the full picture as possible?
Okay, so what normally happens is those numbers do eventually get counted. The problem is there's a bit of a lag in when the person dies and the number is reported out. So those numbers of people who passed away, unfortunately, from COVID-19 do eventually get reported out, but there's just a lag in when those numbers get reported out.
And what about the question of just whether there be, like, if someone dies in their home and they aren't tested, but, you know, is there a presumption that it is a COVID related, or how does that work?
There's testing that is done to confirm whether or not the person has passed from COVID-19. So there is testing that is done. Those numbers are something that we do have, whether or not it's someone who passes away in the hospital or who passes away at home. There's just, as I mentioned, there's a lag, but people who die from COVID-19, those numbers are counted. It's just a bit of a delay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have Keith back, but just on audio. At least that's what I was told. Borough Commissioner Keith Bray from DOT. Okay.
I see him. He's called in, but I can't.
Yeah, no, and I've been. He just texted me. He is dialing now.
Okay.
So this is an overload of communication, but we'll go to him once he's on.
I'll ask one more that Zach has typed in the box a couple of times now, and I don't know whether this is for Tejumada or for John, but Zach says that he'd like to know if there's a place that he can refer people, I guess homeless people in particular, but others as well, who need non-COVID medical attention in Brooklyn. If you have someone who does need medical attention for a non-COVID matter that you're trying to help, whether they're someone who's homeless or a senior or just someone you're trying to refer, what you do.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I would direct them to our website, nyp.org, to get information on where the closest location would be. The city also has resources that if it goes to 311, they can find resources for the nearest health and hospital site. For our resources right now, we'd be directing them, if this is not an urgent matter, to use our telehealth services. And he texted me offline, and I'll follow up with him offline too to see what we might be able to do to help.
That's great. Thank you. Looks like we have Keith now.
We do. Okay. Great.
Hello. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, good. So sorry about that. The teleworking has been somewhat of a new challenge for me as everybody else, so I apologize. Very fast, I just want to say thanks again for CB6 for inviting me here, and been very informative for me as well on this panel. Two quick things. One, though a lot of DOTs and agencies have gone to teleworking, we are doing a lot of basic services still. So you should reach out to me or my office, and I'll leave an email message. I can still type a message on the Zoom webinar chat. So my email address and the office phone number, because we are checking messages, though we are not in the office actively. But there are certain things that are still, we're doing checks on street lights. That's obviously essential services, that's so people can see at night, and also for safety. Also for safety, we are still checking. We made sure some of the first people that got telework at DOT were people who checked the speed camera. So we are still issuing speed camera violations because that law has not been relaxed or stopped just because kids are not technically going to school. But obviously school is still open. People are getting meals there, as you heard from the superintendent earlier. Obviously there's school crossing guards at the school. So we still want safety around the schools. So yes, we are still enforcing speeding at schools during all the school hours that was there previous to this pandemic. And then lastly, I want to say that I know there's been a lot of interest in sort of opening streets for people and activities, not only here, but citywide. There was the program that just sort of ended recently, but going to something else that maybe happen if the summer months go on, depending on how long the stay-at-home order or pause, New York pause, if you want to call it that, as the government's calling it, is going to go along. There are some play streets that happen in the past for schools. Obviously, in the summertime, there are a lot of block parties. We are probably going to have discussions with both the NYPD and also Street Activities Permit Office that does all those block parties to see if those mechanisms can be appropriate, you know, for this sort of activity, depending on how long this lasts. But those conversations are just sort of starting, and obviously with, you know, we have to have a cooperation with a lot of departments to make sure at this time that something like that will come off. So I can't say any promises on anything that's going to happen anytime soon, but I can say that there are discussions to see what, if anything, can be done if the months get warmer, if this New York State pause continues. With that, speed hump, we are still filling potholes, other sort of state of good repair things DOT is also doing. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. I think we had someone on behalf of Comptroller Stringer that signed in. Like I said, I can't. Oh.
Yeah, that's me.
Yes.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on this call. My name is Taika Haraguchi, and I'm the Brooklyn Borough Liaison for CB6 from Comptroller Stringer. I'm sure the Comptroller would have loved to have been on this call, but unfortunately last week, some of you may know, but he lost his mother due to COVID, so he's just taking his time grieving. But I'm very glad to be here and just to let you guys know how our office is navigating this COVID pandemic. So our office is still open. All of our services are still running. Just all of us are working from home remotely, like many of you. We are still processing claims and receiving them online. So if you have filed a claim with our office, you can still contact your assigned examiner. If you don't know who that person is, you can also call our Community Action Center and they will connect you to the correct person. And all that information is available on our website. I will link it to the chat box later. In terms of thinking about the fiscal health of our city, the Comptroller released an updated budget analysis, which shows that tax revenues are expected to drop by about $5 billion over the next 15 months. So accordingly, we have called on the mayor's office to require department heads of different city agencies to identify savings equal to 4% of their city funds budget, with exceptions for the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, as well as any social service agencies. In terms of contracts, the Comptroller did send a letter to City Hall asking that nonprofits be held harmless for missed contract deliverables if they are directly attributed to COVID. So after we did send them that letter, the Mayor's Office of Contract Services did issue guidance to human service providers, assuring them that they would be kept whole. And it's been mentioned so many times on this call, but in terms of, our frontline workers and the critical services that they provide, our office did release a comprehensive demographic profile of all of these essential frontline workers. So these include people in the public transit, healthcare, childcare, sanitation, and janitorial, utility, and delivery industries who are helping us all battle and take on COVID. So we really put this report together so that the city, state, and feds can better address the needs of these workers, and so that citizens can better appreciate, all of the issues confronted by those who are on the front lines. So a few statistics: 60% of all frontline workers are women. 75% of all frontline workers are people of color. More than 50% of frontline workers are foreign-born, and 19% of frontline workers are non-citizens. So we did release also a series of recommendations for the city for these workers. Things like we recommend they provide a pathway to citizenship, naturalization. We also asked the city to subsidize city bike memberships, lower the speed limit, and greatly expand pedestrian space to help frontline workers get around safely during this time. And I will also link that report in the chat box so anyone can, have like a read of it. And lastly, our office right now is also working with the governor's office and the mayor's office to assess in real-time ways that our hospital systems can better work together to respond to this crisis.
Great. Thank you. I think that is everyone. I don't know. I think there was supposed to be someone from OEM, but I'm not sure if they ever got on as a panelist. But other than that, I think that's basically it. I don't know if anyone else, Brad or Peter or anyone, has anything else to throw in.
I just wanted to thank everyone for participating. It's been great information, and I know that we still have most of the people that joined us, so hopefully they've benefited from it, and even if you've just learned one thing that will help you get through this crisis, that's the most important thing. So thank you to everyone for being here.
All right. I guess happy Easter and Passover to everyone who's celebrating. That's basically all I've got. And like I said at the beginning, just on a self-plug, for the CB6 specific information, I think I've seen a few things on the side here, but I can't see all of it. If you want, just simply text BKCB6 to 22828. You could sign up for our daily or weekly updates there. And thanks so much to everyone. And I have to give a huge shout out to Brad's staff, and specifically Meg Flynn, who has dealt with all my neurotic questions regarding how Zoom works at all. So thank you. Brad as well.
No, I agree. The praise goes to Megan and to Naomi, who have been doing all the work in the background. And Megan has answered. So there were some questions in the Q&A box, and Megan has been typing answers to those that had, kind of answers that were more like objectives. So most of them got answered, and the others we can copy and give to Mike and Peter, and the community board can respond to them in the next couple of days. I'm trying to think of this. Look at this, see if there's anything there. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's good.
Thank you all.
Best wishes for good holidays, everyone, and stay safe. And thank you, Mike and Peter, for convening us, and to all of our colleagues in government for all your service at this moment.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.